Thank you very much. Thank you, Anne, on behalf of the Consulate. And thank you to all of the changemakers, young and old. And thank you especially to the female US Marine who loaned my wife a cardigan. Kya tandhawa. Money, 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 money. I can't tell any of you how to make money. I'm incredibly bad at it. In fact, I could probably run a class in how to lose money. Of what we're doing. When you're looking at sustainable development, when you're looking at becoming entrepreneurs, and somehow we're talking as though those two things are synonymous, and they're generally not. They're usually antonyms rather than synonyms. But when we're talking about these things, entrepreneurship and sustainable development, the bottom line for all of this, and the thing that we very often forget, is something that was mentioned by Rahul earlier, and that is the question of ethics. That is the question of how we can find a moral compass to guide us in what we're doing. It's very often what's missing. We have great intentions, we have great hopes and aspirations, and people come with great energy and emotional commitment, and then they find that they're a little bit lost. And this often happens when I'm sitting down with groups of business leaders. These are CEOs of major corporations, and you're sitting with them and they really want to make a change. They want to make fundamental changes in the world. They want to do positive things. And then you ask them, what does it mean to be ethical? And they look at you and go, I don't know. And they really don't know. And that's because they're good at business and they're great at what they do, but no one's ever instructed them in this area. And there's no reason why they should know it up to that point, because business isn't founded on ethics. So what I want to share with you tonight is just one aspect of this, which they have and which now I'd like to give to you. About 10,000 years ago in our human history, our ancestors learned how to domesticate crops and animals. Before that, we'd been hunter-gatherers and we'd followed herds as they migrated south. We stayed with them in the warm months, and as the herds moved south, we moved with them. We were picking off the weaker animals, the older ones, we were eating them, we were surviving. Around 10,000 years ago, our ancestors discovered how to domesticate crops, how to domesticate animals. This means that we had chickens, we had goats, we had sheep. We also had pulses and we had flour. We could produce a surplus of food, which meant we didn't have to follow the herd. So we could stay in one place, even through the winter months. As we did this, other hunter-gatherers who maybe got lost from the herd, who had lost their way, would be trudging through the snow and through the cold areas, and they would smell the food cooking. They would come to us and say, give us food, we're hungry. And at first, perhaps we did share with them. But after a while, we would look and we would see that our sources and our resources were becoming depleted, and we would say, I'm sorry, we don't have enough. Those others would perhaps fight with us, and so we would fight to defend our food. In fighting to defend the food, we would form forces to repel others. All of the most ancient art of human beings shows humans using spears collectively to catch animals. After we learned how to domesticate crops and domesticate animals and stay in one place, human art shows humans using spears to kill other humans. And that's the history of our civilization. For 10,000 years, since the Neolithic Revolution when this began, this is what we've done. Now, it's brought us to this point. And there are a great many spectacular things that are around us that we can look at, that are things that we can be proud of and wonderful achievements. But it's also destroying the planet and other living things at such a prodigious rate that very, very soon, within the lifetimes of your grandchildren, there'll be nothing left, unless we change course. The two characteristics, the defining characteristics of the last 10,000 years of our entire civilization, our human civilization, since we learned how to stay in one place and feed ourselves, and that those clans of families turned into tribes, turned into villages, turned into towns, turned into cities, turned into empires. As this has happened, the two things that have defined our civilization are compete and consume. That's the last 10,000 years. You are now living in the most exciting time in the history of our species. There's a paradigm change, and it's happening right now. And you're in the middle of it. It's going to take time because vested interests who don't want that paradigm change to occur are going to resist it. That's a natural thing. There's a resistance curve to every new idea. But you can't kill an idea with a bullet. You can only kill an idea with a better idea. And this new paradigm is a better idea than the old paradigm that got us here. The old paradigm of compete and consume is being replaced by a new paradigm, which is cooperate and conserve. That's what's coming. Thanks, I'm glad you like that. So it's nice to have entrepreneurs clap that, cooperate and conserve. I know it's right, but a lot of people don't. So, okay. If you want to set your moral compass, whether you're the CEO of a corporation, whether you're a business executive like Richard Branson, with whom I work very closely, or whether you're just starting out, you're not even finished your studies yet, and you're thinking, how can I set my moral compass? You can either be part of the old paradigm, and that's going to continue for some time, and you'll probably make money and do okay. So you can say, I'm going to compete, and I'm going to consume. That's what I'm going to do. But if you want to be part of the new paradigm, if you want to make it happen, if you want to accelerate the movement toward that paradigm, if you want to be part of the new way, then focus on cooperation and conservation. Conserve your energies, cooperate with others. These are the two things. Conserve your resources, cooperate. I'm going to give you an example, because I know we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to give you an example to try to make this clear and in concrete terms. When Jochen Seitz, the CEO of Puma, brought me in and said, I want this company to be the cleanest, greenest, and most ethical company in the world. And that's going to be a long process. I got involved, and I said it has to be top down and bottom up. There's 10,000 people working for Puma. I don't want just the board of directors to get on board. I want everybody at every level to get into this. Let's make this a group effort. Let's get involved. So we did it. And the concept of cooperate and conserve became part of the DNA of the company. We had a philosophy, and that was to be fair, honest, positive, and creative. Those four words, FHPC, fair, honest, positive, creative, came from my 10-year study of comparative religion and of comparative philosophy. When I put this study together, I found all the most positive things from all the religions and all the philosophies came down to this. If you're fair, if you're honest, if you're positive and you're creative in your life, pretty much your moral compass is going to be set in the right direction. And then if you also focus on cooperating with others and conserving your energies, the energies of others, the resources of the world, you're going to be focused on them in the right direction. So we worked with Puma and we made this top-down, bottom-up, and for 2 years this is a major project. If you go on the website, you'll see, and this is now spread to another 40 companies who've taken it on board, because another thing I said was, you're paying me to do this, but I want you to make it available to every company. So if Reebok and somebody else want to use this, you have to give it to them and share it with them. And they said, okay, we're on board. And they did. Now there's 40 companies in the world that operate with the principle fair, honest, positive, creative, and let's cooperate and conserve. Now, the example is this. The Puma company and the Adidas company were at war for 65 years. The two brothers who created them, who were called the Dassler brothers, Rudolf Dassler and Adolf Dassler, had had a huge falling out during the Second World War, and they split their company, the Dassler Shoe Company, which had been famous for making a shoe for an athlete named Jesse Owens. They made a shoe for him, and he won in the Berlin Olympics, to the great chagrin of Hitler, and a black American athlete won. And he won with this shoe, the Dassler shoe, and it made their company hugely successful. But the two brothers fell out, so they split the company in two. Now, the town where they live is called Herzogenaurach, and in this town, where they split the town into two, Puma's at one end, Adidas is at the other. They had to have two bakeries, two butcher shops, two shoe shops, two of everything, because if you were in one company, you couldn't get served in the other shops. So they had two of everything. For 65 years, people were in fistfights in the street because you're Puma, I'm Adidas. And it's only one town in Germany. I talked with Jochen Seitz, the CEO of Puma, and I said at one point, you know what? We've done this thing, cooperate, conserve. We've got fair, honest, positive, creative as part of our DNA. But it's not fair, honest, positive, and creative to be fighting with another company and have this whole town split down the middle. You have to reach out. He went away for 2 days thinking about it because it's a big thing. This is 65 years. Even though the two brothers had long died, the two companies still hated each other. Finally, he came back after 2 days and he said, you know what, you're right. And he called up the CEO of Adidas and he said, hi, it's Jochen Seitz. I think we should talk about making peace between our two companies. The CEO of Adidas burst into tears on the phone. And he said, I'm so happy that you called me. Jochen, I know this man. He's a strong, tough businessman, but he was shaking when he made the call. And at the other end, you have a strong, tough businessman who was crying when he got that contact. So he said, let's get together. So they had a cup of coffee, they talked about it, and they said, what can we do to bring our companies together? Well, we're sports companies, let's have a soccer match, but let's put everybody in mixed teams. So it's not us against you, it's just for the fun of the game. And we don't care who wins. We're there to have fun and to get to know each other. They had the game, it was a huge success. And at the end of it, the executives from both companies got together and said, you know what, let's work together. We're still in business, we're still trying to make a buck. I'm competing with you, you're competing with me on the business level, but that doesn't mean we have to hate each other, and we should be part of this new paradigm. So now these two companies share their technology. When Puma comes out with a new process that has less stress on the environment, less toxic chemicals, less residue, using a new organic process, they share that. They don't just keep that as an industrial secret, they share it with the other company. Thank you. And Adidas does exactly the same. This is a principle. Cooperate, conserve. That is part of the new paradigm. If you're looking for a moral compass, make that part of what you think and what you do, and you will not go far wrong. My last two words, we had Dr. Singhji who was here before, and he said head, and he said heart, and all, and I'm sort of thinking, yeah, right, head, heart, hand, I know. So I'm going to put my hand on my head, I'm going to put my hand on my heart, and I find this totally irresistible. You got to forgive me. I'm standing on what is part of the United States of America. I'm so honored and delighted to be standing on part of the United States of America and to say these two words, Jai Hind. Thank you.